Hey folks, so just wanted to give some information off the back of my last video about Tommy Robinson and try and explain this group, this English Defence League that he was running and where that come from. And big shout out to Cookie Monster for putting this link in the chat yesterday. Go and check him out on YouTube, Harry Cookie Monster. Cheers man. So okay, this comes from wideshut.co.uk, behind the media's mask. Don't know about their credibility, but I know you can go and cross-reference all the information within this link as I have done, and you'll see that it's absolutely spot on. It says, who are the English Defence League? It says, with the English Defence League's leader, Stephen Lennon, languishing in a Norfolk prison, having been sentenced in January to 10 months, 5 in jail, 5 on licence, for using a friend's passport to enter the US. Now is a very good time to ask, who exactly are the EDL? Where did they come from? Are they really an organic grassroots street movement dedicated, as they continually claim, to peaceful opposition to extremist Islam in Britain? Is Lennon calling all the shots, or is he taking orders from elsewhere? Just as I've been saying all along, Lennon and the Zionists. The question of image and reality is especially relevant following information that came to light at the end of Lennon's recent court case. During sentencing, Judge Alistair McCreef intriguingly revealed that the name on Lennon's passport is actually Paul Harris. Lennon appears to be a man of many names. He is also known as Stephen Yaxley Lennon, as well as using the pseudonym Tommy Robinson. If we cannot be sure of his real name, we do at least know that he has some very interesting connections. Now, if somebody was so caring about patriotism and fighting for a better Britain and a better humanity, why the hell would they have so many different names? What are they hiding behind? You've got to ask yourself. Is he trying to hide that his roots by his name, family bloodlines and stuff? Let's read on. Lennon's arrest followed his illegal entry into the US last September to attend a conference organised by notorious Islam-hating Zionists Pamela Geller and Robert Spencer, whose anti-jihadist organisation, Stop Islamization of Our Nation, Zion, he is a board member. EDL or IDL. Lennon's attendance at a Zionist organised conference should have come as no surprise because the English Defence League have openly pledged loyalty to Israel, something that we've pointed out loads and loads of times. In an article posted on the EDL website and published on Geller's blog in June, Lennon made his devotion to the Jewish state perfectly clear. And I remember reading this back at the time. It says one of the fundamental beliefs that this movement was built on was its support for Israel's right to defend itself. In our first demonstrations, we went to Birmingham and we flew the flag of Israel, the Star of David. In the first public speech I ever gave, I wore the Star of David in Leeds. The reason for this is because Israel is a shining star of democracy. If Israel falls, we all fall. Is he talking about the Samson option? The only country in the world that has such a thing, to say that if there's all-out war against Israel, they've got all these nukes already programmed into major cities throughout the Western world and any other country that could be a threat. And the minute they detect a threat, they're going to launch all the nukes. Yeah. So is that what you mean? If Israel falls, we all fall because of the Samson option? Go and check that out, folks. Very interesting. No other country in the world could have such a thing and get away with it. Chosen ones can do what they want though, can't they? A politically correct nationalist movement, the EDL coalesced out of a small groups connected to Luton's football gangs and thugs, as I've talked about before, with Combat 18, National Front, far-right Nazi groups in the UK, and the total hypocrisy of that, folks. Far-right Nazi-supporting white supremacist groups being funded and led down the garden path by Zionists, rabbis and Israel. Can you really get your head around that? Can you understand now why sometimes we use the term Zio-Nazi? Is it starting to make sense yet? Well, it should, folks. Lennon's peculiar statement seemed highly the ignorant football thugs amongst the EDL's rank and file had quite likely never given Israel a second thought. Defending England from Muslimic terrorists was their primary concern. Why was a foreign flag being flown alongside St. George's Cross at rallies? Since when had defending England meant championing diversity and multiculturalism? The EDL's website hosted images of a multiracial organisation. Its leaders made a point of stressing the movement's diversity and support for minorities who were not Muslim. You remember that? They had a couple of Sikh guys, a couple of black guys, and they're like, oh, we're not racists, look, look. Such a scam, folks. And the group has at various times operated a Pakistani Christian division, Jewish division, Sikh division, disabled division, and even an LGBT division. Surprise, surprise, folks. Surprise, surprise, how some of the same guys pushing this rainbow revolution, which is also part of the same, part of the agenda and stuff to dehumanize and demasculinize men, pretty much. But yeah, that's another video, and I'm not really going to get into that. People are free to be what they want to be. However, don't promote it and put it in the faces of children and make it so acceptable. The image of a liberal, open-minded EDL jarred with reality, as many of its members were actually hostile towards ethnic minorities. Well, we can see that, definitely. It seemed almost as if the EDL had an astute public relations department working hard to make the movement seem less offensive in the eyes of the public. Well, of course it is. That's what they do. It's the tactics that they go to. This guy, Alan Lake, wealthy mastermind behind the EDL. The man responsible for the direction of the EDL was Alan Lake, real name Alan Ayling. Ayling was a wealthy businessman and rabid anti-Muslim with close links to Zion, Geller and Spencer. He formed the EDL with the express intention of using them as a puppet army to physically confront Muslims on the streets. Just like ISIS is the puppet army in the Middle East, to take out any regime that doesn't buy in to the global, World Bank and the Zionist agenda and the plans for the Greater Israel Project. Ayling spelled out his agenda during a speech at a seminar on Islamization in Malmö, Sweden on September the 6th, 2009, where he openly admitted to using the physical groups, the football lads, to bulk up in terms of both size and muscle at anti-Muslim protests. Was he paying for them to go to the gym as well? Was he paying for the steroids? Who knows? He made his intentions equally clear in a Guardian article the same month. Well, you can go and read that. I'll put the links in the description for this, and you can go and find that. He says, "We are catching a baby at the start of gestation. We have a problem with numbers. We have an army of bloggers in the far right, but that's not going to get things done. Football fans are a whole plow that gets off their backsides and travels to a city, and they're available before and after matches." The fondling meeting of the EDL even took place in Ayling's expensive London flat. He is accurately described when called the group's financier and strategists. Now, what kind of grassroots movement has somebody like this? An astute Zionist? Isn't it clear, folks, the agenda that they're, pushing right now, especially with InfoWars and the rebel media and this far-right media, alt media crap? So clear, folks, so clear. That's why I'm saying that probably these terrorist attacks are false flags, because they seem to be timed so well with the political narrative that these guys are putting out there. And let's just go off the argument that there is no Mossad or other nefarious intelligence agencies, involved in these operations. The narrative and the groundwork to get people to, feel that sort of way and go out and commit these things has already been laid. So it doesn't matter whether you think it's a false flag or not. The conspiracy of how this shit started and how it continues to go on and for what reason is very real, folks. Very, very real. Just try and get that off there. Okay. So, moving on. Words of violence and defence of terror. The EDL claimed to support peaceful opposition to Islam, yet Ayling's language has been anything but peaceful. Writing on his For Freedoms website in May 2010, he casually talked about the torture and execution of alleged pro-Muslim British political and religious leaders, including the Archbishop of Canterbury, David Cameron and Nick Clegg, referring to the Islamic enclaves that he believes will exist in Britain in 20 to 30 years' time. We've all seen those videos, folks, how they're going to outnumber us and, oh my God, in 34 years there's going to be no white man left, blah, 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 blah. It is absolute bullshit. It's furthering the cause for the white supremacist agenda. And the same people behind that and all these groups are the Zionists. The same people behind the radical extremist Muslim groups, the Zionists. They control both sides. That is what they do, folks. Remember this guy, Anders Breivik? Yeah, I remember him. The nationalist terrorist who murdered 77 people in Norway, July 22nd. Starting to see a pattern here, folks. 2011 was a keen follower of the anti-jihadist bloggers featured on Ayling's website. Breivik praised the EDL in his manifesto and posted on forums linked to the group. Following the Norwegian terror attack, Ayling was actually questioned by police, keen to establish whether he might be the English mentor. So in your face here, folks. So in your face. Whilst Ayling was released without charge by the police, some continue to allege that he is indeed Richard the Lion-Hearted. Most prominent amongst them is Paul Ray, a disgruntled former EDL member who had been present at the group's founding meeting in Ayling's flat. Ray had the misfortune to blog using the name Lionheart, and so naturally became a person of interest to the authorities in the aftermath of Oslo and Utøya. He flew voluntarily to Norway from his home in Malta to be interviewed by police, and continued to claim that he was set up by Alan Ayling, who he believes to be the real Richard, though his evidence seems entirely circumstantial. Very interesting. Ayling's made sure to publicly condemn Breivik's attack, but has also described it as the chickens come home to roost. See what he's trying to say there, folks? It's so obvious. So obvious. He wasn't the only member of the EDL to exploit the Norwegians' murderous attacks. Ayling's associates. Ayling's friend Roberta Moore headed the EDL's Jewish division until she became a little too outspoken about her extremist and anti-Muslim pro-Zionist beliefs. A Brazilian-born Jew, Moore is believed to have been responsible for Stephen Lennon's appearance at a September 2011 EDL demonstration, from which he'd been banned by police, but he managed to sneak into by absurdly disguising himself as a rabbi. You can't make this shit up, folks. You really can't. Most comments during Breivik's trial were highly disturbing. In 2012, she wrote an article publishing on the Jewish Defence League's blog in which she described Breivik's trial as a kangaroo court and defending him against the charges of child murder by repeating his defence that the victims had actually been young adults attending an indoctrination camp who were not innocent, she then went on to say. She said, "I hold the same amount of sympathy for those on Utøya as I would if somebody committed this act on a Hitler youth camp in the 1940s. Crazy. The EDL did not distance themselves from Moore's outrageous comments, and for some time she continued to run their official Jewish Division Facebook page to spread anti-Muslim hate speech. Lennon himself appeared on BBC Two's Newsnight to discuss Breivik's attack, and at the end of the interview, Jeremy Paxman did a startling double take when Lennon appeared to make a veiled threat about a similar future attack on British soil. Very interesting, folks. Now, I'm not going to go through everything here because there is quite a lot of stuff and I really don't want to just echo the text on the screen, but I thought it was important to get you guys started. I will put the link in the description and you can go and read further, you know, all these connections and stuff to the Zionists and the agenda that's being carried out. And go and check this out, folks, the Project for a New American Century, PNAC Agreement, also called 1 year previous to it being called this, a clean break, a strategy for securing the realm. See there, secure the realm. This was actually released 1 year prior in Israel before it headed over to the States and was published with a new name. And it's all about creating all these wars in the Middle East, regime change, taking over land, territory, stealing resources, implementing their systems, and very, very, very telling, folks. If any other nation on earth would have come out with a document like this, they would have straight away been seen as a threat by the rest of the world and they would have been stopped. But when Israel does it, well, it can do what it wants, can't it? It continues to act without being, you know, questioned or held accountable for its actions. Even false flag attacks before 9/11, the USS Liberty, the Israelis shot the hell out of it, killed people, and, you know, made a mess of that ship. And when the Americans were going to sort of intervene and fight them back, they were told by the president, weren't they? Nope, hold back. Just like all the Mossad agents that were caught on the day of 9/11, held and released without charge, even though there was evidence to suggest that they were very much involved with that operation, just like 7/7, so many other attacks that have taken place. So many false flag attacks, folks, carried out by these same perpetrators that I have no doubt in my mind as time goes on will be also linked to the Manchester bombing. Directly or indirectly, like I say, it really doesn't matter anymore because the groundwork's been laid, the narrative's been pushed, and people will fall privy to these psyops and mass manipulation, and they will carry out the very same thing they want them to. What did they say? The art of war, what is a psychological operation? Well, it's getting your enemies to do what you want them to do without having to fight them. And that is how they do it. That is the means they do it. And that is exactly what people like Tommy Robinson are doing. They want you to get outraged. They want you to go out. They want you to fight. They want you to, fight the Muslims, take them on. Fear, 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 fear. You can see it. You can see exactly from people like the Rebel Media and InfoWars, the texts of the videos and the titles and the agendas and the stuff that they're pushing. Especially with the Muslim grooming thing. As I said in my previous video, it's absolutely disgusting and they should be hung, drawn and quartered, but at the same time, why weren't that investigated when the evidence was put forward to the police? Could it be because there's a deeper conspiracy within government and it would actually expose all the paedophiles within places of power? I think so. I really do think so. There's more to it than meets the eye, guys. And everybody right now should be stood together. These scumbags here, Muslims, general people, Jews, wherever you're from, whatever race, religion, background or creed, we should all be stood together. It may sound cheesy, but it's the only way, folks. We stand together, we call out the corruption for what it is, and we call out the state of Israel and the Zionists, quote-unquote Zionists. Remember what Joe Biden said? You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. And that is the point. That many of these non-Jews that are Zionists are pretty much as bad and worse than the actual hardcore Zionists in Israel. Completely. Completely. Same way that a lot of the Muslim converts are more extreme than the actual Muslims. Do you see what's going on here, folks? Do you see what's going on in the game of grooming that they like to point out so much? Everybody's being played right now. And you've got Theresa May saying that another attack is imminent, everybody's scared, freaking out, it's pushing the narrative even further, But if you look back in history at all these terror threat levels and stuff, they always seem to increase the terror threat level just after an attack happens. So can we really go off the threat level and what it means? Why wasn't it raised before this happened? Why wasn't it raised 4 hours before when this so-called Islamic hate person put the Twitter account up and wrote the post saying about the Manchester Arena and the Islamic State hashtag? 4 hours before. Where was the no red flags going off? As I've shown in my other videos, the dates, everything happening on the 22nd, 4 years to the date of the Lee Rigby thing. All the other events that have happened on the 22nd of the month over the last couple of years. Why weren't the intelligence services ready for something like that? Why wasn't there extra police watching the doors of major places like this arena? How did somebody with a rucksack looking shifty just so happen to walk into the foyer and blow himself up in the centre of a major city? What the hell is going on here, folks? Oh, well, it's the police cuts and it's this, that and the other and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. It's been orchestrated and designed to happen this way because something will always come off the back of these kind of attacks. As sad as it is, there will always be some kind of political gain, there'll be some new law passed, there'll be something that nobody wanted but now it's accepted and they're begging for. There'll always be something. Yes, it doesn't mean that these things aren't real and we shouldn't, be calling them out for what they are and stuff. It doesn't take away from the fact that people are dying. But at the end of the day, we need to deal with the root cause problem also bite the head of the snake, and the head of that snake, to me, is the Zionist criminal empire. Yep, I said it, folks. Call me an anti-Semite, whatever you want, muddy the waters, I don't care. Because if you actually listen to the whole thing in its context and everything that me and loads of other people are saying at the minute, you'll understand that the alternative media is leading you astray. Not all of the alternative media, but the spearheads, the pioneers for truth. Alex Jones, the guy who says that he exposed 9/11. Well, where is he now? Where is he when Trump was on his show just before the elections talking about the radical Muslims celebrating on the day of 9/11, even though we've shown a million times evidence that it was Mossad agents that were celebrating, high-fiving and taking pictures. Then you had the Mossad agents that were caught with truckloads of explosives in New York City that day. Several different white vans with murals painted on the side of two buildings and then like a plane sort of going into the building, right in people's faces, and the name of the company, Urban Moving Systems. Well, they certainly moved a lot of urban that day, didn't they? 3 skyscrapers, folks, to the ground. Controlled demolition, free fall speed. What more evidence do you need? People like Tommy Robinson are going to carry on pushing this narrative that look what they did on 9/11, look what they did on 9/11, look what they did on 9/11, and keep implanting that into people's brains to the point where they forget everything that Alex Jones told them 10 years ago. You know, the narrative has certainly shifted from InfoWars since Trump. It really has. And if people can't see that, then I'm sorry, but you weren't awake in the first place, or you're a paid shill, knowingly playing into their agenda. Anyway, folks, I think you've heard enough of me ranting for one day. But I just wanted to clear that up. I made that last video there ranting about Tommy the Tipbag Robinson, and then all this other stuff came into my mind, and I thought, hold on a minute, you know, I need to show this. And of course, the link that Cookie put up there. So, very interesting stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening, guys. Leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments. Good and bad, it doesn't matter. Like it, dislike it. Just get involved and let me know what you think. If you disagree with me, let me know why you disagree with me. If you want to talk to me at some point, for whatever reason, send me an inbox on YouTube. Send me your Skype details and I'll try and get in touch with you. And I'll try and have it out with you and debate you. Even Tommy Robinson himself, I don't care. You can turn up at my door with his Rebel Media microphone and we'll have it out. We'll have a good old debate about false flag terrorism and the creation of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and what is really going on in the Middle East. I don't think he'll like what I have to say. And that's why I think he won't get involved. He won't. Unless he thinks he, you know, small man syndrome, he can bully me and this, that, and the other. The way he likes to growl at people that don't know how to answer him back. No problem. I'll let him say what he's got to say, and then I'll hit him with some facts. So, time to put an end to it all, folks. It really is. They're trying to lead you to some kind of race war, or they're trying to lead you to justify and accept what they've got coming down the pipeline. Greater Israel Project exposed. Go and check it out, folks. Do the research, read the documents, see for yourself. All these racial supremacist groups are working for the same people. All these religious extremist sects at the upper levels, compartmentalized, are working for the same people. They pull both strings, folks, from World War I to World War II to this World War III by proxy that we're seeing now, and we have been seeing for years. It's always them, folks. Always. Let's expose it together. Let's stand together. And I really hope to see some Muslim guys out there, true and sincere in what they believe, coming out and, you know, calling it out for what it is. There's no need to be scared anymore. I know there's millions of Muslims in the UK that are outraged about what's been going on, and they, you know, they call ISIS like a death cult, and they say that they're satanic, and they even say that there's prophecies in the Hadith, in their own religious texts, that state that there will be a black flag army that claim to be Muslims when they're not. They're actually like a Satan's army, and it all ties into like the end times and stuff like that. It says it in their prophecies, folks. Yet you like to demonize them all. You know? You see what's going on here, folks? very, very clear. Thanks again for listening.